Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hi, Jennifer. You got to take yourself off mute.
Oh, there
There
I
you go.
am.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Put a face with a voice.
Right?
Well, hello, Suzanne. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Bob. How are you? Yes.
Good. How are you?
Great. Glad you could join us today.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, glad to.
Yeah, good to see your face. I haven't seen you forever.
I know. Hopefully I haven't aged.
No, you not one day.
But I do have I'm wearing a new cast these days.
Oh my goodness, what happened?
Had to have thumb surgery.
Oh, well, looks like maybe you're on the road to healing, so I hope that's the case.
Yeah, it's my second cast, so we're about 3-4 more weeks and that'll be it, and hopefully all squared away.
Wonderful. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you? Oh, John Nicholas.
I'm doing great too.
Multiple Johns. Nice to see you, John.
Likewise. Good to be seen.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thanks. My name's John Leonard. I'm the president of the Sacramento chapter of LAI, and we're pleased to have you with us today. Thank you for agreeing to speak to our group.
Happy to be here.
Great to have you. Hi, Suzanne. Hey, Bob Dean. How are you?
Hi, John. Doing good. How are you doing?
Doing super. Thank you for asking. Tim Cassidy is here. Nancy, great. We're going to give a few minutes to allow the masses to assemble. I'm not sure how big a turnout we have scheduled for today. We just got done with our board meeting, so we're re-logging in. Give everybody a few minutes to a couple more minutes, please. Okay, let's get started. I think some others will probably trickle in, and we'll have an opportunity to at least see some faces in spite of the fact that unfortunately we're not able to, still not able to meet at this time. My name is John Leonard. I'm president of Leonard Development Company and the president of Lambda Alpha Sacramento for this year. It's been a unique year, and we're appreciative of all of our members and your interest in our continuing programs. A couple of important housekeeping items to share with you. We are nearing the end of 2020, and we're about ready to engage everyone in a request for a renewal of your membership in the next 30 to 45 days. I would like to tell you how important your membership is to our group, Lambda Alpha International. We have the strongest chapter in the nation, in my opinion. We're not the largest, but we're close. And from a market size comparison to membership, we are the largest by far relative to our market size. So we have a very, very strong chapter. We have a really strong board of directors that I'm proud of and proud to serve with. Everybody does their part and volunteers their time for the benefit of this group. And we've had, thanks to Randy Getz, have had a wonderful series of Zoom presentations this year. We've adapted to the fact that we are unable to meet in person and continued having our meetings. We are anxious to get back together when it's safe, but unfortunately, I think everybody agrees that it's not yet safe for us to be meeting in person. So the important part about renewing your membership that I want to share with you right now is our group is operating at a minor deficit, and as a result, we do have some reserves, but we're touching those reserves now, and we're not comfortable with it. So we want to share with everybody that the strength of our chapter is in our membership and our presentations and our monthly Zoom meetings, which will eventually, hopefully sooner than later. I'm optimistic about something mid-year. We'll have to see. I'm not promising anything, but we'll be back together again when it's safe. We have created a separate subcommittee to evaluate the best way to have our annual investiture dinner, which is currently scheduled for the end of January, but we will not be meeting in person. You'll be hearing about our plan of action for that alternative as it matures, and somehow, some way, we'll be doing something that will be meaningful to everybody in our group. So I share that with you so that you're aware that we're going to be asking you to renew. We want you to renew. We encourage it. We need you to renew, and we'll be coming up with a number of different reasons that you should continue your membership in our group, and we thank you. So with that, I would like to introduce Randy Getz. Randy, I don't see your, are you on the, I think you're on the call, so that you could please take a moment to, actually first, before I introduce Randy Getz, I'd like to thank our sponsor this month, Randy Getz. Randy, CBRE has been our sponsor this month, and we're thankful and appreciative of your sponsorship. And this is an opportunity for exposure for anybody who chooses to be a sponsor on a monthly Zoom meeting and or an annual sponsor on our webpage. It's inexpensive and it's good exposure, and then I get to say your name and say thank you. So Suzanne Blackledge, our executive director, has information on this if you're interested. And with that being said, I'm going to introduce Randy Getz. Randy, are you there?
John, give him a few minutes. He's logging in right now.
Okay. Well, I won't ramble, but I would like to, again, welcome everybody. We're all figuring out how to adapt to this new environment. We just had a great board meeting, and we talked about a lot of different things, including the Samuel Kohlers Award that we're evaluating, as well as our growth in membership. We have 11 new members in our subject to the investiture at the beginning of the year. Exactly how we're going to do that is still being designed, and we're excited to welcome them all aboard. I'm sure several will be on the call with us today. Randy, are you with us yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Did we lose him? My phone's not ringing from him. He probably got a very important call from a client. We'll see. Give him just a moment. And if not, then I will proceed with the introduction of Jennifer. One moment, please.
Maybe why we have a minute here, John.
Yes?
Yeah, obviously, I don't think I need to say it to this group, but hopefully everybody is not supporting Proposition 15, split roll tax. I think so, but more importantly, that is to make sure that we all get out to all of our clients and our friends and make sure that they know what it really means and the way to vote then. And
thanks, Bob. I agree with you. We believe, I think I can speak generally for the Lambda Alpha Board of Directors and state that we feel that this Proposition 15 is a significant threat to the strength of our real estate community in the whole state. So,
right.
Randy, I understand you're with us. Can you please, good afternoon, and thank you again, Randy. You missed out when I thanked you for sponsoring this meeting. Randy Getz is our Zoom sponsor today. So Thank you, Randy and CBRE. Randy, can you please introduce Jennifer?
Hi, Jennifer. Our guest today is Sacramento's film commissioner, Jennifer West. And let me tell you a little bit about her. She has an impressive resume, and I'm very grateful that she has consented to spend some time with us. I have to say, one of the reasons that I wanted to have her speak is that our daughter and her husband are both successful film editors in Los Angeles. And when film production takes place in a city, the benefits, both cultural and financial, are enormous. And so I am immensely pleased that Sacramento now has what I'm sure will be a very effective advocate on behalf of why films ought to be produced here in Sacramento as opposed to elsewhere. Jennifer brings her extensive experience in film production, business management, and Sacramento city politics. Prior to joining Sacramento Film and Media, she worked on feature films in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. before becoming the manager of a television production studio in Hollywood. After moving to Sacramento, raising a family, and running 2 businesses, she served in the City Council Office of District 3, assisting Vice Mayor Jeff Harris and producing the successful concert series Pops in the Park. In her new capacity, she'll focus on rebranding Sacramento as a film destination. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from UC Santa Barbara, go Gauchos, and in her free time, enjoys spending weekends at her cabin in Tahoe with her husband, 3 teenage children, and her dog, Joey, the 4th child. Jennifer, thanks for joining us, and we're looking forward to your comments.
Hi, thanks for having me. So if I wasn't nervous before, I'm more nervous now that my boss is in the room, Mike Jasso. Hello. And my old boss, John Shirey. Hi, John. Nice to see you. So yeah, I was going to give you a little background, but that was basically my bio. I did begin my career at New Line Cinema in Los Angeles. I was fortunate enough to have a boss that basically said, I'll point you in any direction in this industry, which, you know, this industry is sort of hard to break into, and it kind of really is all about who you know. I feel fortunate I landed in that. He pointed me in the right direction to, I started doing production accounting, went out freelanced. I worked on Batman Forever, Oliver Stone's Nixon, My Best Friend's Wedding in Chicago with Julia Roberts, before, like you said, coming back to New Line Cinema and running their small television production department. And then my husband graduated from chiropractic college. We moved to Sacramento, and basically I figured my career in film was over, but I never lost sight of it. I hoped that one day Lucy Steffens, the previous film commissioner, would actually retire. And finally, here we are. 20 years later, super happy to have my dream job. I have a lot of plans for Sacramento in film. But more importantly, I'm just excited that the city has, you know, invested in my position to, you know, help bring more film here. So, so I started in January. As most industries, we shut down on March 13th. So I just started getting the hang of actually permitting film, which is what I do on a daily basis, before we were sent home. So during this time we were shut down, my entire focus was working on the website and getting that up and running. Fortunately, because of COVID, we were able to go out and shoot thousands of different locations in Sacramento without a lot of people or having to Photoshop out. So our new website, which is filmsac.com, has a very extensive locations library, including, you know, approved private residences is what we call it. And so that's one area that I'd like to boost up. And that just means that I have the contact information for these locations. And it makes it really streamlined for productions that come to town to be able to just look on there, know already that these locations are film friendly, and be able to get in contact right away. So that was my main focus until the governor in June finally made the entertainment industry labeled as an essential business. So great for us. On June 12th, I asked the Sacramento County Health Office if it was, I had to ask for their permission to, because there wasn't really a label of, I'm not a restaurant or a bar or whatever. It was, kind of another level of having to ask permission in order to open up. So we felt that with the industry white papers that have been released, and following federal, state, and county guidelines, that it was safe for us to open up film production with, but limited to only 20 cast and crew. We felt with 20, we could still, have the social distancing that we needed. So anyway, we were back open on June 12th, and since then we've been permitting. So Sacramento film, as I'm finding out, is mostly commercial based here in Sacramento. So typically, I guess the previous film commissioner kept very few stats. It was just hotel nights and permits issued. So they were at about between 60 and 70 film permits per year that they were issuing. So commercials, we do a lot of political commercials, especially this time of year. We do Golden Ones, Safe Credit Union. We just had a huge Rayleigh's commercial that shot at their new store on Freeport. And it's amazing. I mean, this one commercial brought in $300,000 to Sacramento. So that's how profitable it can be. We also had documentaries shooting this year, not mostly, but a lot around the Golden State Killer. So that was big news. We do some reality TV with DIY shows, and we shot an episode of The Bachelorette in March. It was probably the last thing we filmed before we shut down. We have local filmmakers. We have a lot of really great talent in this town. Mark S. Allen, for one, has shot several features here, and he'll be shooting his next one. I believe, I don't know if they're greenlit yet, but they're ready to go, and they want to shoot here in Sacramento. So in addition to what we get naturally, we've also seen a boost in production from the Bay Area. So San Francisco took longer to open up because, I mean, in my opinion, their city attorney wanted to kind of control everything and have their own rules on top of and stricter than the county. Fortunately for us, our city attorney disagreed with that approach and said, this is, as long as they're following federal, state, and county guidelines, and being safe and following the industry white papers, we're good to go. So we did get, I would say, quite a bit of a boost from productions calling and saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys are open. We're bringing it there, or I'm pitching Sacramento. I get a lot of calls from people who are just pitching and don't actually have, the contract yet. But anyway, so that was exciting. And, we're just hoping that it continues. I think there was enough people that came through here, before San Francisco's really opened up, and still continue to, that I think they'll think twice about, just shooting in the Bay Area, or understand that Sacramento does have more to offer. So with that said, I don't have any fancy graphs. Give me a year or two and I will. Like I said, I have very few stats from previous years of film in Sacramento. So I'm kind of starting from scratch. But global screen production is a $177 billion industry, and 67% of below the line costs are spent outside the film and television sector. So for example, so we've issued 50 permits so far this year, totaling 154 film days. So what was I going to say? I'm sorry. Anyway, so we've done 50 permits, totaling 154 film days. That equates to $1.5 million that have been injected into the local economy. So that's through wages. We have, the productions that have come to town have hired over 300 locals. This is for location fees that they pay when, to restaurants or to businesses when they want to shoot there. Rental of equipment, expendables, construction, building things, props, that sort of thing. And then as well, included in that 1.5 million is hospitality. So all the restaurants and the hotel nights, which equal TOT tax. So even through COVID and even with a 3-month shutdown, I feel like our numbers are still doing great and they can only go up. So that's exciting. But what we really have to do is figure out how to grow this industry here in Sacramento. So the first step of that was the website and getting that up and running. Now that it's up and running, we need to spend some marketing dollars and get it out to the right people, the stakeholders from across the state. I have been working with the Northern California location managers and they are helping me to spread it. And I think that, for right now, until Sacramento becomes a wider market where people in Los Angeles are jumping on planes to fly up here and film, the Northern California location managers are the people that I most need to reach. And so that's who I'm reaching right now. Because they basically, the company hires an agency, the agency hires the casting agency and the production, and then I'm the first call that, from the location managers. So they call me, we talk about locations, we talk about their project, hotels, all of that. So those are my go-to people in the business. But we need a wider range, right? So I'm talking to my new boss, Megan Van Voorhees, about getting a marketing budget together, either for midterm budgets or for next year. The next thing is we have to increase our workforce. So in Sacramento, I'm finding that there's a very small number of people who work in this industry full-time. So we have a lot of hobbyists. We have a lot of filmmakers who maybe have written a script or are shooting their short or that sort of thing. But the bread and butter, the people who are actually working full-time in this business and mostly on commercials, is a small group. It's a small crew. They're all very tight knit. They know each other. They work together all the time. Anyway, so we just have one of those. So we need to have 2 or 3 of those, because what I'm finding is when people say they want to come to Sacramento and shoot a film, the bad reputation that we have is that we don't have any crew and we don't have any support services and that sort of thing. So it's about changing that perspective and changing that mind, but also working on how do we create, this workforce and how do we replicate that one. So I'm working with the main players, the one full-time working crew, and talking to them about bringing on apprentices and doing internships for a year. So a 6-month to a 1-year project. Somebody who obviously has some experience in entertainment, and those interns or apprenticeship would work side by side with that one particular job in that industry, and then eventually be able to have 2 of those. I think sometimes the people who work on commercial production, it's really fast paced. They get paid a lot of money, and it's a 5-day job, and they're in and they're out. When a feature film comes to town, it's a weekly rate. It's usually less money. So it's about balancing that. So lots of times, the commercial crew is like, well, I can't really commit to be on your feature film because, you know, I'm not going to get paid as much. And if a commercial came to town, I would, you know, jump off. So we need that second set of crew that would be willing to work on the features or would be willing to work on lower budget projects, but at the same time have the same quality and work, you know, experience as the commercial people. So we're just beginning to look at this apprenticeship or an internship program, Megan and I, my boss, and we're not really sure exactly what it looks like yet. We don't know where the dollars will come from. We're looking at different, you know, resources, but in partnering, I've begun a conversation with Sac State, who has a film program, and Consumnes River College, as well as Sac City. So at some point, we'll be able to get them on board for some hands-on real experience. I think the hardest thing for this workforce is that it's not something you can just teach in a classroom. It has to be hands-on. It's just, film is something that you learn, right? You're just on set, you know, it's just not a normal industry where you can just, you know, there's any rules. So anyway, working on the apprenticeship program. So the website and marketing, the apprenticeship program, and increasing our workforce. And then the third thing, oh, and back to, we do actually have, so I don't know if you guys know that Sheldon High School has a program, an animation program that's like top notch. And Sean Sullivan, who runs this program, is just he's won Emmys, and he turns out some great quality kids. They're high schoolers, but then they go off to LA, right? So I've been working with Sean to figure out, okay, how do we keep these kids here, right? Like, how do we keep this workforce and not leave it? So he is creating a program, and thankfully through the CARES Act, he was able to get a grant, which will replicate basically his program at Sheldon High School into the city of Sacramento schools. With this replication of that, and he has contacts at Toon Boom, Pixar, Disney, Lucasfilms. So these animators or these professionals will be able to come in and actually teach this curriculum that he's created. So we're expanding his program into the city of Sacramento schools, which is great. He already has a commitment from Matthew Cherry, is an animator, I think NFL star that created Hair Love, that won a bunch of awards anyway. He's getting ready to begin his feature film and has agreed to take 10 interns onto his feature film. So obviously this is all, you know, we're still virtual, but it's almost better because these kids are going to be able to get this education and, you know, as well as, you know, real world experience. So really excited about that partnership. We just need to keep the ball rolling and you know, more. So then the final thing, and probably the most important thing about increasing film in Sacramento, is incentives. So pretty much production follows money, or money savings. And that's why people shoot in Vancouver. That's why they shoot in Georgia, or they shoot overseas. So we're going to have to create some kind of incentive program in the city of Sacramento. So right now, California has the California Film and TV Tax Credit Incentive. So it's $330 million a year. But a lot of that money is spent in Southern California mostly, right? So what I would like to do is be able to lobby the, you know, California Film Commission and say, hey, can we annex like, you know, a couple of million or 50 million of that just for Northern California? Just because, you know, I think it would draw people to do production in Northern California. And then at that point, we're just competing with San Francisco, and maybe, you know, not even competing, but it would be nice to have those productions in Northern California. So there really isn't any other incentive in Sacramento at this point other than our great locations. And the waiving of TOT tax for 30 days. But most productions that come film here are not going to shoot more than 30 days. It would be great if we had a feature film. We don't have a sound stage, right? So there's lots of things that have to get done. But I think the number one thing is building this incentives program. So over the next a few months, I'm gonna be working with Megan on looking to see what that entails. And at that point, we'll have it, you know, probably tiered, like obviously with COVID, we don't know what the budgets are gonna look like. I'm not expecting the moon, but what can we create that maybe doesn't cost us a lot of money or doesn't cost us upfront money? So whether it's tax rebates or rebates on sales tax or some sort of local hire incentive, if you hire, you know, 6 locals on your feature, then you get some kind of, you know, something back. So anyway, that's all just in the works, has to be figured out, passed through and passed up, sent up the flagpole. So, so that's where we are. So I was thinking, I don't, you know, what do you guys want to know? How can we partner? What do you do? How can we work together? I think that other than building me a soundstage, which I would very much appreciate, so please, somebody, just kidding. I need to know what's out there in the community. I need to know what you have that films can access when they come to Sacramento. So as an example, I don't know if you know Hassan Minhaj. He was on the Netflix Patriot Act. He came to town and did a commercial, and they were looking for a restaurant. So they really liked the look of Empress, and Bob Emmerich was nice enough to open it up. I mean, he, you know, turned all the lights on, they came in, they filmed downstairs, they, you know, they shot some stuff upstairs. It was great. It was a great partnership. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, you know, with this group or with others. And so, so when we talk about approved locations, I guess I just need more. I need more approved locations. What do you have? You know, what can films access short term? Do you have production office space that, you know, can be rented? Do you have a great space that, you know, you want on film? So on our website, filmsac.com, under community, there's a tab for list my property. I would encourage you all to go list your house. We need more houses. List your buildings, list your, you know, your ranches, your whatever you have, so that we can begin to build even a better network of locations. And so, yeah, so I think that's what I see as the partnership. But obviously open to creative ideas and ways to collaborate. So with that, I will take some questions. Sorry if that was rambling.
No, that was good. That was frankly highly informative. What do you see as strengths and weaknesses for Sacramento?
So I think our strengths are definitely our locations. And I think another strength is the wantingness that people want this industry here and they want it to grow. So I think there is that that excitement for film. Negatives, like I said, I mean, it's all about turning those negatives into a positive by creating incentives. We currently don't have any incentives. Increasing the workforce. You know, it's kind of like a catch-22 where, you know, unless you have more film coming here. So once you have more film coming here, people get crewed up, they learn the skill, but they have to be working in the industry in order to, so there has to be an industry here in order to like create the workforce. So, but yeah, so the workforce and the incentives, I think, are the biggest challenges that we face. You know, as this grows over the next, you know, 5 to 10 years, and people do start seeing the value of Sacramento, I anticipate, you know, more people coming here, which brings, you know, then somebody finally says, oh, okay, well then I'll go ahead and be the camera rental shop, and then I'll be the prop shop, you know, then you get people finally starting to invest in it. but yeah, it's just about growing it. And right now it's about being scrappy. So that's kind of
You
where I'm at.
mentioned that our area is a draw. Can you tell us what it is that is most intriguing to a filmmaker to come to Sacramento?
So what I've noticed over the last, 9 months basically is we get a lot of car commercials. So they love the bridges and the roads along the Delta. So a lot of it is like the outskirts, which I think we have foothills and we have the Delta and we have bridges and that sort of thing. But then we also have the city that can be anything. So we just shot, it was a bank commercial or something downtown, and they wanted it to look like San Francisco. So, we were narrowing in on which blocks of Sacramento look the most like San Francisco. You're never going to get the huge skyscrapers, but they were able to do it. And so that's a benefit too, that we can be kind of anything, any city out there we can look like.
Jennifer, this is John Leonard. At the beginning of your presentation, you discussed, or actually mentioned it a couple of times through your presentation, a strong need for a sound stage. And it seems to me that you kind of have a cart horse problem here in Sacramento with regard to momentum and production capacity. There have been a number of feature films that have been filmed here, but candidly, it's probably been a pick up and move it from LA to Sacramento short term to make it happen kind of thing. I'm wondering if you could share just a little bit about this soundstage requirement and whether or not if the right set of conditions were presented with regard to real estate. Cost of real estate here is substantially lower than it is down in Southern California or in the Bay Area. What kind of a production company might be interested in investing the capital required to make this happen? And if you could create a solution by recognizing each of the individual problems, engaging the city in bringing some capital to bear to subsidize or facilitate. I don't like subsidies generally, but if there's a way that you can get a production company to raise the capital to invest in something here, our cost of everything could be quite low or quite a bit lower than Southern California if the facilities were in place. How do you get those two dots connected?
Well, oh yeah, it's like you said, cart horse, right? So we have several people have come through here, investors and people wanting, or local people wanting to create this soundstage, right? Or this complex of where you could actually have cover and build a set, and what I'm finding is the biggest hurdle for that is people want to build it, but then they want somebody else to run it, right? So that's the connection and the connecting the dots that I've got to figure out and make more contacts, because there's, I've talked to 3 or 4 people who want to build it, but they don't know anything about entertainment. They don't know. So what you basically need is somebody to come in that's going to lease it for a couple of years, maybe, that say, okay, we'll commit to lease it and shoot, our stuff here. And yeah, so it's just a matter of finding those people who will commit to running it, I think is the hardest part that I'm finding right now. So yeah, it's a tricky one. It's hard to figure out, but I will be talking to the city about it. We've got all these great programs for other development projects or for other areas around the city. Why not film? They've invested in me, in my position, but I'm hoping that they will see the value and begin to invest in this industry. And give me more money, Mike. Come on. Just kidding.
Nancy Park has a question, but let me just ask you one thing, if I may, just briefly. In Los Angeles, where there is a history, a culture of sound stages, how does it work? Does the producer or showrunner go to the owner of the sound stage and say, we're going to be doing, 20 episodes of a particular show. I need to rent this for 6 months or a year, or does somebody build the thing and then somebody else sublets it for 5 years and then takes care of subletting it to those who are going to be operating within its confines?
So I think all of those things happen. I think there's lots of different, ways. Obviously there's, the actual big studios that have their own, sound stages. But then there's, other independent ones. So before COVID hit, there was this voracious appetite for content, and we were running out of content, or people were just, it was nuts. We were just shooting. So it got to the point where, sound stages were becoming less and less available, that HBO would just lease their, a studio or a sound stage for, even if they didn't have anything filming there, just so they could have it, right? So there was a need. I think there will be a need again for more sound stages. Yeah, I think, and then I think that they all work differently. So my my goal or dream would be to have it. Build it, they will come, right? But be able to scab off, maybe not from LA, but maybe the Bay Area, to say, bring in one of their smaller, not necessarily Netflix, but maybe Roku, or, one of these smaller streaming companies, to have an office here in Sacramento, and then also have a soundstage that they can. So they're the ones that are going to be driving, driving the the industry here. I don't know.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah,
Thank-
this is Val Toppenberg. What
Wait,
what do you?
Look, Nancy asked her question, then you can go next.
So this is Nancy Park, Best and Krieger. So I actually do leasing for several sound stages in Valencia and downtown LA, and also production space for filming
Awesome.
there. So I have some direct experience in representing landlords for filming productions, both long-term
great.
productions, movies, TV shows, commercials, individual location agreements. So I have done quite a bit of negotiation for these kinds of productions over the last 15 years, and working with production companies and the producers. And they're often on extremely short time frames. So we'll get a call that, hey, we need this space in 10 days. Can you get me the agreement tomorrow? And we'll work out the details over the weekend. Sometimes it's, we get it on Wednesday and they want to start shooting on Monday. So extremely short timeframes is one of the challenges that comes with this. Yep. Some of the facilities that I deal with are just industrial buildings, and those are the sound stages. So they are filming productions within these industrial buildings. And the biggest thing about them is air conditioning and lights. Having the ability to have really high powered air conditioning to keep the temperature down, because the lights create so much heat, is really a big deal. And our heat here in the Valley is obviously a challenge. So power outages and things like that are a big deal. And I think that you could pitch a very strong position that we are not subject to PG&E shutdowns, and that we in SMUD, at least idea. in the SMUD region, you could pitch that we have a very solid power source, so that we don't have issues with power shutdowns during filming. Because again, you don't want your talent sitting around. So the other thing,
Thank you.
Yeah. So the question I was going to ask is, what's being done to create the bank of available shots, the library of shots that then, the brokers and the location assistants that are scouting for locations will know what we have as resources here. Because one of the most successful projects I've been working on for many years is basically an office campus that has these stock shots that they can show to the production assistants. Here's our office setup. Here's our courtroom setup. Here's the place where we have outdoor events. And they have, like fake marathons and lots of fake car commercials where they're showing a car race or community shots, because they have these campus areas that are able to be shut down from traffic and then do filming of, what look like public areas, but they're not really, they look like a public park, but it's not really. So they have these stock shots that they're able to show and say, hey, you can use this in your commercial. And I can't tell you how many times we've watched a commercial on TV and went, oh yeah, there's that place that I represent, which I'm not mentioning, but you might be able to, with a few clues, you would know exactly who I'm talking about. But
Right.
around here, there's a number of sort of campus areas that might be available for location shoots that would be a separate source of income. Large industrial parks or large office parks that would be wonderful sources of income. And if somebody has, a spare floor in their office building, this could be used as a location shot and could be an ongoing location for a series if they had, offices or something like that. It's pretty easy to fit them out and then use them as repeat locations for these shows. And a lot of the shows, they only get picked up for, 6, 8, 9 episodes. They don't even get very many episodes anymore. Nobody's doing the long 20 or 30 episode, seasons, full seasons. They're doing like little tidbits to see whether they're worth it before they spend the big money on repeats. So it's all about when can you get the space for production, so your filming space. Then a lot of times they need carpentry space, so they need a mill. So if you're going to have one of these places, you need to have a mill that's available to multiple production spaces. And then you need the sound stage capability, so and a big industrial area where you can actually do the filming and build your set.
Right.
And then set storage is the other part. So all of those things go into having the space. The reason why I would say nobody's going to build a soundstage here right off the bat, because industrial space is so profitable right now. Nobody's going to spend the time to invest in a soundstage that's going to be vacant half the time, because industrial space is going for such a premium right now that the opportunity cost would be crazy. You would never do it in this industrial hot market. But what you could do is you could look around and see if anybody's got any older industrial space that's not quite up to par for the new distribution facilities. And that could be maybe converted to a soundstage. And that would be a very possible use that maybe could be pitched and be utilized. So that's my suggestion. And my question to you is, the question behind all of that was, what's being done to create the bank of sort of library shots that will help to promote this area? And how are you reaching out to property owners so that they know this might be a side income?
So it goes back to the website. So if you just jump on the website at filmsac.com and you go to locations, like I said, there's over 1,000 location images organized by, bodies of water, bridges, roads, downtown, funky spaces, those kinds of things, so that when somebody's looking for those, they can see that we do have it here. I think, well, we're in like phase 3 of the website. So we do have drone footage as well. It just hasn't been loaded onto the site yet. So that will also, I think, increase people's, wanting or willingness to be here to be able to see how close we are to everything. But yeah, I mean, as far as having stock images or shots that we could sell, I don't know that the cities would be interested in something like that. I don't know, Mike, what do you think? I mean, I don't know that we want to be in the business. We want to be assisting, like we want to be, helping to create this business and making sure that everybody, is profiting, but not necessarily the city profiting off it. I don't know. Mike, are you there?
I am. I was going to hold off to the end. So I think right now, in the conversation, it's to, one, get ideas, feedback. I would say the city's not opposed to it. We would just need to figure out that structure. So, but I think it's fertile ground for a conversation. And Jennifer, I don't know if you're going to be adding kind of one of the things we see opportunity for is to have an advisory body that helps us think about, exactly the kind of questions posed and what is the role of the city, where can we play. So one of the things I was going to say, I'll say it now since Jennifer brought me in, which is one, I feel very fortunate that we were able to kind of find Jennifer, and it turns out that Jennifer was right under our noses, kind of here at the city, in growing this. We do think it's a very important and opportunity for Sacramento to build on, for all the reasons Jennifer talked about. But I'm also very enthused with the fact that Jennifer identifies the opportunity of the scenes in terms of true economic opportunity, both from a workforce perspective, but also for positioning and branding the city and region perspective. And the reality is that it's a regional, it needs to be a regional effort, right? We have great or potentially great locations for shoots and other sports all over the region, right? You can have an urban environment, you can have a hill environment, a suburban environment, a wilderness, a river wilderness kind of environments. So we think this is a great opportunity. And I think right now it's to present where we're at in terms of Jennifer's very early in the work, but also then speak to how we develop this more. This is really about a long-term certainly a longer-term transitioning, but we know that there's opportunities that we are probably missing, particularly at this time when we know that there's lots of pluses for filming here, whether it's climate, whether it's cost, which we know is huge, and that it can be a vital part of our economy, and thus in terms fostering California's economy in this area where there's already a predominance.
Val, do you have a question?
I did have a question. Where's the sound stage, Jennifer? Because I didn't know where it was.
So there isn't one. I have people interested in creating one right now. I've got people looking in the River District. And like Nancy said, I mean, it really is just about taking something that's sort of old and defunct, or maybe was working similarly, and bringing it up to speed. I would say in addition to air conditioning and lighting, sound. So it would have to be soundproofed. And that's probably where a big expense is going to come in as well. It needs very high ceilings so that you can do rigging from above. So, I mean, I think we start small, and I'm fingers crossed that this one, deal's going to come through in the River District, but there's no guarantee. But I think Mike's right. It's like, I mean, I had no idea, Nancy, what you do. That's amazing. I completely want to talk to you and have another conversation, sidebar. But yeah, like, what can we do together? How can we partner? What do we need? That's kind of where I'm at in this process. And like Mike said, it's very early. I mean, I know the business, but I'm still learning the business in Sacramento and what it entails and where the cracks are and how do we fill them and how to do it positively through economic development, and incentives and those sorts of things. So no, a studio doesn't exist yet, but you can build one for me.
And Jennifer, I got on the website to look at your location shots, and I would say we have so many more locations that could be featured on here. Absolutely. Even the feature of the public art section, where it has a few of the murals, but not so many of the good ones, which would be wonderful backdrops for a variety of movie locations. There's only a couple of office buildings on here. There's only a couple of approved private listings. Oh my goodness, anybody who's got decent photography of their building should be sending their pictures to Jennifer, because it would be a wonderful opportunity for some side income on location shoots. Yeah, I mean, the location for the Hassan Minhaj one was thousands of dollars. I mean, yes, Bob had to open the whole building, but it is significant, and there's a lot of money in this industry, and there's a lot to be had and a lot to spread around. So yeah, it's Nancy, obviously, like, I mean, if you guys, I think that's part of it too, is please spread the word, spread the word that we do need to get
everything that's wonderful about Sacramento in front of the stakeholders. So if you can get more people to jump on and say, I've got this great building, I've got this great house. What about this, piece of art? I'm completely open to all. Like I said, we're in stage 3, the final stage of the website. So there is still room, and money has been spent on being able to add more. So yeah, let me know. What have you got? What could be used? We have so much, and nobody knows about it. We're like this hidden gem. So it's time we change that. So whose son wants to come back? I'm reading the chat.
Oh, Ben Catlin.
Oh, Ben.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law is a senior exec at Netflix, and my son has his own
cool.
production studio. So I have a real vested interest in making this happen. So
That's awesome. I want to talk to you and your family.
I'm going to call you as soon as this was over. But
Great.
yeah, it's fascinating because I get the how are we going to fund this? And he's pitching right now for one that I happen to really like, which is a sci-fi flick. But anyway, I don't need to bore everybody else. But thank you for your efforts. This is awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have a contact at Netflix, I mean, my brother works for Netflix, but he works in like IT or software development or something. But obviously, if you also have those connections, and I would love to connect. So, and
I'll
talk
tell you as
more.
soon as this is over.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Ben.
Additional
Jennifer.
questions for Jennifer?
Yep.
John, you want to wrap it up?
Sure. Jennifer, that was excellent. Thank you very much. A lot of people want to see film come to Sacramento, and we're not sure exactly how we might be able to help you do that. I actually already started the process of, subject to my wife approving it, submitting our property for consideration.
Hey, thank you.
I went online while you were describing everything, and
Yeah.
it's not difficult.
And honestly, I mean, your contact information isn't going to be on there. I mean, none of that. It's just, it'll show.
Oh, I thought it
they'll
was a
have to-
marketing opportunity for me.
Well,
Sorry.
no, yeah. I mean, it is. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. This is a partnership, right?
I'm kidding. No, I think the idea of bringing more film to Sacramento, I think that the one comment I wanted to make before I attempt to wrap up is that Sacramento is a gem, and we have a lot of great weather, and we have a lot of great vistas, and I think that it's a secret. So
Yeah.
if people were able to determine that it's less expensive to operate here if we had some of the resources in place,
Right.
and Ben would build you a damn soundstage, we'd be done. We'd be good to go. So
We would.
I wanted
We'd be off and running.
I thank you, the board and membership of Lambda Alpha. Thanks you for your presentation today, and we are appreciative, and look forward to seeing everyone next month on the 17th of November. And I think that is a representative from SMUD to discuss with us some of the benefits of being in Sacramento relative to the cost of energy. And sure. And one of the things that you should consider as well is we have a great green energy offering, which I think people in Los Angeles might be very interested in as well. Our sourced energy is highly green from SMUD. So I thank you, and I thank the membership, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next month or so.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Have a great day. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Leonard.